Hello everybody and welcome back to there we go. Hello everybody and welcome back to Let's Play Suzerain. OBS took a moment there to actually, I guess, start recording for some reason. Okay, let's go ahead and see. I'm pretty sure we read this already last time, so I'm not going to read it. If I didn't read it last time, go ahead and just pause. But I'm about 90% certain that we did. So, button, this is the one I wanted. I don't think I read that one. I think I just kind of skimmed it, but that's fine. So, okay, it looks like we don't really have much to do here. So let's just hop on in. Private meeting with Peter. It was a dark, chilly evening when Peter called and asked if we could meet. He gave no details. All he said was that it was important. I drove alone through Sordland's suburbs until I reached the meeting point he named, 147 Ruick Avenue, number 26, our old campaign headquarters, untouched since the night of the election. This was where everything began. I made my way up to the dusty staircase of the office building. The light in the second floor hallway was out, so I used a cigarette lighter to find my way to the wooden door marked 26. I pulled on the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The heavy door had always been a pain to open. Coming. Peter pushed on the door with all his weight and made a screeching sound as it opened. Without further ado, I bid you welcome to this grand nostalgia trip hosted by yours truly, Peter Vectern. He made an exaggerated bow. The dust from the open door was still settling down. Feeling sentimental yet? I remember it as being much cleaner. That's what time does to things, my friend. You're looking a little shabbier yourself than you did back then. Come over here. Remember this? He walked over to his old desk and pointed to the gramophone that had annoyed our neighbors and kept us company for so many late nights. Peter flipped the switch and it filled the room with swing music from the 20s. I'll be damned, it still works. I thought this office was sold off. No, I've been paying the rent. Too many memories attached to this place just to sell it, and you know, we might use it again soon. He put his hand under the desk and brought a bottle out. He took a swig out of it and passed the bottle to me. Aren't there any glasses? Palace life is pampering you too much. Just drink from the bottle like the old days. Remember where we came from. Peter snapped his fingers to the music while going through the items in the room. It looked virtually unchanged since election night. Come on, have a look around. See if it doesn't bring back memories. Okay, let's check our old desk drawers. I walked over to my old desk, sat down on the squeaky chair, and opened the top drawer. Inside there were a few old coins, pencils, and sheets of paper. Underneath them, something caught my eye. It was a photograph of me and Monica sitting under a tree. This must have been 10, maybe 15 years ago. We looked so young and so happy. Monica would love to see this. Nice find. Look at baby Anton. You didn't even have your iconic look. I took the photograph and slid it into my jacket pocket. Okay, look at the storage boxes. In one of the storage boxes, I found a heavy object wrapped safely. I unwrapped it. It was an emerald-colored statue of a goat, the symbol of Sordland. I remembered that this was a gift from Brenda, one of the 53 election campaign assistants. It would look good on my desk in the palace. Brenda, 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 always sucking up to you, and where did he get her? Seriously, where? I have no idea where she ended up. Let's take the statue as well. I lifted the statue box, or the storage box with the statue in it, and put it near the door so I could take it on the way out. Let's see, go through the records of the gramophone. I found one of my favorite albums ever, Mountains by Janet Gers, a set of plaintive folk songs that made me yearn for the countryside whenever I heard it. What a classic. You should mail that to Frank so he can learn what real music is. Yep, let's go ahead and take that too. Why not? Okay, enough going through old stuff. Let's talk. Yes, all in good time. He gestured. Oh, I forgot to get my timer started. He gestured to the bottle he had in his hand. Okay, fine. I'll take a drink too. He took a very big gulp out of the bottle and staggered to the side afterwards. I know you, Peter. What are you hiding? Nothing. Let's go up to the roof. The view is always amazing from there. We went up the stairs to the roof. The view was mesmerizing. The buildings of Sordland twinkled below us while the stars shone bright in the sky. We sat and leaned back against the wall, taking it all in. Right as I was starting to get up, I heard a sobbing sound. I turned to Peter and saw tears streaming down his cheeks. I've not seen a night sky beautiful enough to make Peter Vectorn cry. He wiped the tears away and laughed. I messed up, Anton. I messed up big time. Evelyn's leaving me. She wants a divorce. What did you do? I've been sleeping with Livia Suno. I had a feeling about you two. We got careless, I know. I'm so sorry. It's just, Evelyn hasn't been the same since she lost her job, and Livia was always giving me sultry looks from the day I hired her. You were away, I was drunk, one thing led to another, but she's more than just a pretty girl, Anton. She's smart and kind. I think we really connected. I like her too. That doesn't mean I'd break my vows and risk a scandal for a bit of horizontal polo. I know, but we're ending things. I told her it's too unprofessional and I want Evelyn back. Who else knows besides me and the three of you? Nobody, I swear. There was an edge of desperation in Peter's voice. He took another drink. How many years have we known each other? How many scrapes have we gotten ourselves out of? I can handle this myself. Just trust me and don't bring anyone else into this. I turned to face my friend and vice president. The habits that had gotten him dubbed the bad boy of Swordish politics when we were young were no longer so charming coming from a middle-aged man. Yet he was still a capable politician, and I couldn't ignore our long history together. Alright, it's just an affair and it's over at that. We can weather this. Thank you, Anton. That means a lot to me. Don't mention it. I mean it. Don't mention it. Without waiting for his reaction, I left the rooftop alone and made my way downstairs. On my way out, I grabbed my belongings and took one last look back at the office. It had been home to some happy memories for sure, but this visit had permanently cured me of any nostalgia. As soon as I arrived home, I headed up to my study and sat down and stared at the telephone. I'm going to trust Peter and not call anyone. I headed to the bedroom without calling anyone. Peter and I would be able to handle this between ourselves. I slipped into bed, careful not to disturb my sleeping wife. I would tell her the news about Peter and Evelyn tomorrow. I hoped it wouldn't upset her too much. I couldn't sleep at all that night. Increased trade volume. Yes. Wonderful. Vogsland trade sanctions against Sordland. Well, that's... We got a green thing for increased trade volume. And then the news is trade sanctions against Sordland. Okay. Those... I feel like those don't quite go hand in hand, if we're honest. Chancellor Hegel has condemned the military alliance between Sordland and Lispia, calling it a great threat for the people of Eastern Marcopa. He announced that the Vogslandian government is readying new sanctions against Sordland, which will be aimed at crippling the Swordish economy. I think that went down a little bit, actually. So that's fun. National Business Council warns of excessive spending. Yeah, okay, you guys got me there. Rizia expresses discontent over Sordland-Lispia alliance. In a recent statement, King Ramus condemned Sordland's alliance with Lispia, raising concerns over the potential implications for regional stability due to Lispia's actions and membership in the ATO. He called upon Sordland to reconsider its strategic decision, highlighting the value of maintaining balanced power dynamics within the region. The king's address emphasized the importance of promoting regional independence apart from the superpower alliances. Okay, imposed trade tariffs against us. Sordland has announced a slew of trade sanctions against us, with increases of up to 30% of import tax on certain goods, along with the cancellation of military arms sales, medical assistance, and other economic cooperations between our countries. The sanctions came as a direct reaction to the alliance signed with Lisbia. I would think we wouldn't have very many military arms sales between us and Sordland, if I'm completely honest. CSP condemns the submarine attack on a cargo ship. Oh, okay, this one is interesting. The CSP has issued a strong condemnation following the recent submarine attack on a cargo ship off the coast of Marcanisa, near northeast Rumburg. The incident, involving a Rumburg submarine erroneously targeting a cargo vessel belonging to United Cantana, has raised serious concerns about maritime safety and the need for improved communication channels. In light of the incident, the CSP is calling for immediate measures to prevent such occurrences in the future. A key proposition is the establishment of an emergency security hotline between Grace and CSP. This could serve as a platform for real-time information exchange, ensuring quick and appropriate responses to any maritime distress signals. The Pact believes that this initiative will significantly enhance maritime safety, providing a buffer against inadvertent escalations. Okay, so it was like somewhere up here-ish. Okay, start of the day at the palace. It was early in the morning. After my talk with Peter, the sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon. I couldn't sleep, so I decided I might as well head to the palace early and get some uninterrupted work done. The Maroon Palace was empty, save for a few cleaning staff. I entered my office and was shocked to see Lucien already there waiting for me. Mr. President, good. I was hoping you'd be early. Lucien, I know you're punctual, but this is ridiculous. I have a sensitive matter to discuss. I have very good reason to believe your vice president and your secretary are engaging in illicit relations. Yes, he told me. It's over now. Lucien gave me a wounded look. You knew, and you didn't come to me with this information? You only told me yesterday. I was going to come to you first thing today. Well, don't hesitate to call straight away next time. On its own, given Mr. Vectern's established reputation as something of a playboy, the affair is unlikely to cause much damage. However, a more troubling possibility has been brought to light. A recent conversation with Mr. Hailstone, our whistleblower from Rumburg, revealed the presence of a spy within the Maroon Palace. I believe Miss Suno was our mole. She has been she's been using her relationship with Mr. Vectern to gather information. Tell me more. I can do better than that. I'll show you. Lucien reached into his coat pocket, pulled out an audio tape, and fed it into the reel-to-reel machine on my desk. This was recorded in the palace at 1809 on the second day of your trade visit to Lisbia. Press play. I heard Peter and Livia's voices. You're sure everyone's gone for the day? Relax, Liv. Nobody's working that hard with Anton off in Lisbia. Livia giggled. I heard the sound of kissing, then of drinks being poured. I'm glad you stayed behind. Did he tell you how it's going over there? Do you think there's a chance they'll form an alliance? As a matter of fact, yes, he and Prime Minister Alvarez just sealed the deal. I think Anton is making the moves to isolate Rumburg step by step. In the meantime, I can think of another deal that needs sealing. Lucien grimaced and switched the tape off. I gotta agree. That's not really damning evidence so much. Okay, you're somebody who's working in the political sphere. You're probably going to be curious, at the very least, as to what deals are getting made. And now, granted, she is just a secretary, so, probably doesn't need to be as privy to a lot of this information. And probably doesn't have quite as much curiosity as other people who are, actual diplomats or whatever. But just having curiosity I don't think necessitates referring to somebody as a spy. I would hope that you would have something a little bit more than just that. Curiosity about foreign relations doesn't make one a spy, perhaps, but why so much curiosity about these particular alliances if not because they could strengthen us against Rumburg? And that's not all. I found her resume on file, and there's a year-long gap between her finishing secretarial school and beginning her career. Normally, this would have been looked into, but Miss Suno was hired before a background check could be completed by one Peter Vectorn. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Livia opened it cautiously. "Good morning, Mr. President, Mr. Galad. I didn't realize you'd be in so early. Can I get you some coffee?" "Livia, I think we need to have a bit of a conversation." "Close the door. Have a seat." Livia sat. She looked puzzled. "Is something the matter?" "Enough pretending. Your secret is out." I'm not sure what you're talking about." "Come on, Livia. Peter already told me everything." Livia buried her face in her hands. "I'm so sorry, Mr. President. I was foolish, and Peter was so nice to me, but it's over now. Nobody ever needs to know." "That's not what the President means, Miss Suno. We're referring to you being an intelligence agent of Rumburg." Livia sat upright. She looked shocked. "Pardon me? Mr. Galad, are you feeling all right?" "I know, it sounds ridiculous to me as well." Lucien folded his arms. "Miss Suno, indulge me for a moment. What were you doing in the year 1951? Livia's face flushed. "If you must know, I was working as a cigarette girl at Porto's. It was a Lockhaven saloon. I was saving up so I could afford my own place in Hallsword. Here's the proprietor's number if you need to double check." She scribbled a telephone number on a piece of paper. Lucien snatched it up. Was she eager to help David back in Benfica? I don't recall that at all. "Why were you asking Peter about my alliances?" "To tell the truth, Mr. Rain, I was hoping to run for office myself someday. I want to make a real difference in the world, like Miss Morgna or Miss Walda. But I guess I messed that up by getting involved with Peter. Now they're all just going to say I slept my way to the top." "Wait, how did you know about that conversation?" There was a loud pounding on the door. Peter barged in without waiting for an answer. He was unshaven and wore the same clothes as the night before. "I came as soon as I heard the three of you were in here. Anton, what the hell are you doing? I told you I had this under control." "Sorry, Lucien already found out." Peter took a seat on the far end of the sofa. He looked over at Livia and noticed her troubled expression. "God, why involve her? This is my mess. She did nothing wrong." "Lucien has the preposterous idea that she's a spy." What?" "I have reason to believe she's been relaying information to Rumburg, information that you leaked to her in your carelessness." Lucien rewound his tape and played it again. As Peter listened, his eyes widened in disbelief. "Lucien, you rat bastard, you've been bugging my office." "Lucien, is this true? How could you?" Both Peter and Livia were glaring at Lucien now. He looked unrepentant. "I had noticed the vice president's behavior becoming increasingly erratic and unprofessional over the past months. I wanted to get to the root of the cause." "So you wiretapped your own goddamn colleague? And for what? Have you been getting off on this, you pervert?" "Certainly not. I believe that along with the Rumburg whistleblower's admissions that there is a spy in the palace and certain gaps in Miss Suno's resume, this tape makes a compelling case to investigate the secretary for espionage." I mean, a year? Do you really think that they trained somebody to effectively be a spy in only a year? I mean, I'm sure you could train someone to be a spy in a year. That doesn't mean they're going to be a good spy, though. Whether or not the investigation yields positive results, Mr. Vectorn ought to be held accountable for his willingness to divulge such sensitive information. He ought to stand trial, or at the very least resign. Peter's jaw dropped. Livia stood up. "If I may, Mr. President, I've been paying attention to what goes on in the palace, not because I'm some sort of agent, but out of genuine interest. Hard as that may be for you to believe, Mr. Galad." She scowled at Lucy and then turned back to me. And from what I've seen, this man has been attempting to undermine your vice president at every turn, perhaps with the goal of replacing Peter himself. I mean, in no way get that vibe from him at all, if we're honest. Nonsense. Lucien's been nothing but loyal. Loyal to you, it's true. He never could stand me. Lucien frowned. My personal misgivings about Mr. Vectorn aside, I would never do anything to harm this administration. Mr. Vectorn, on the other hand, has at best committed adultery and at worst delivered state secrets straight into enemy hands. Who could I believe? Peter and Livia, please wait outside while I try to talk some sense into Lucien. No, let's just... Lucien, can I speak to you alone for a moment? Peter and Livia exchanged wordy glances before exiting my office. What are you going to do, Mr. President? Honestly, I'd fire you for surveilling Peter. What else could I have done? You couldn't look past your history together and see Mr. Vectorn for who he truly is. You still can't. Peter's problems aren't your business. I'm only looking out for you, sir, the way I always do. Just tell me, do I have your permission to launch an investigation to Miss Suno? No, Olivia and Peter will continue working for me as usual. None of this happened. Sir, this is a mistake. This is my decision. I'll face the consequences. Lucien clenched his jaw. I'd never seen him this unhinged in all my years working with him. Very well, sir. He stood up and stiffly walked out of the office. I was right to defend my secretary and my best friend, but I hoped I hadn't just made an enemy. Oh, okay. Yeah, results of the affair scandal. Let's hop into that one. Several days had passed since the confrontation with Peter, Livia, and Lucien in my office. Lucien was still acting frosty towards me for rejecting his advice. On the other hand, both Peter and Livia were unnaturally nice to me, though they avoided speaking to each other. I was just settling in behind my desk when Lucien knocked on my door. Sir, a moment of your time. Of course. Lucien entered my office and closed the door behind him. I still believe you were wrong not to pursue an investigation to Miss Suno. However, I acknowledge my lack of concrete evidence and unorthodox information gathering method may have given you pause. I could have been less rude to you about it, though. Perhaps. Lucien looked me in the eye. I feel I would be failing in my duties as a chief strategist not to give you one last piece of advice on this. Please consider dismissing Miss Suno from her position at the palace, just in case I am right after all. Well, she has been a distraction to Peter. Keeping Miss Vectorn around may be another mistake, but that's a conversation for another time. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just gonna flip a coin. Well, a virtual coin. I don't have a coin directly on me to flip at this point. Just gonna flip it a couple times and see what I get. And okay, flipped it 3 times, and third time it ended up on heads. So, all right, if it'll get you off my case, I'll fire her. Thank you, Mr. President. I called Livia into my office. She tentatively stepped in. What is it, Mr. President? I thought about how useful she'd been to me as a secretary and how much she knew about what I'd done. You're fired, Livia. What? I thought we'd been over all this. I don't share Lucien's suspicions that you're a spy, but I can't take the risk that he's right. How prudent of you. She glared at Lucien, then at me. I hope you're both happy. You've ruined a woman's career simply because she acted too much like a man. She stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Trust me, Mr. President, your decision was the correct one. I hope so. I showed him out and went to brew myself a pot of coffee. Okay, political briefing meeting. The morning sunlight streamed through the windows as Lucy and I entered the white room. I sat down. Lucien remained standing. I'm afraid I won't be able to join you for the meetings today, sir. The Livia Suno affair has left me with much to catch up on. He dropped a thick folder in front of me. I was hoping to go over the day's agenda with you before your cabinet members began arriving, but duty calls. He walked out. I took a look at the folder in front of me, then at the coffee carafe, in the corner of the room. I walked over and poured myself a cup. I wondered when my new secretary would start work. Internal Affairs was first on the list of items. Lilas and Nina, along with their close staff, joined me around the table. Lilas cast an eye around the room. I still don't understand why you fired that secretary of yours. She seemed like a competent young lady. Shall we begin? Tell me what's going on in Bergia. Mr. President, I want to congratulate you again for your historic accomplishment for Bloods in Sordland. Thank you for approving my plan for the revocation of the special zone. Nia averted her gaze. The internal security structure of Bergia has already been dismantled. Part of the local forces will be integrated into the Sordish police force. The governor position has been abolished. In the next election, each town will elect its own mayor, as in the rest of Sordland. And now you, Miss Graf, have complete control over the region's security. As I should, Miss Morgna. I am the Minister of the Interior, after all. In any case, now that the governor is gone, this will hopefully prove to be a huge step for Bludish rights in the region. I hope we can achieve a true reconciliation between our people. She sighed. I hear your concerns. Nia nodded. We'll keep it brief. I think that will be all for our internal affairs update. They gathered their documents. See you later, Mr. President. They took their entourage and left the room. Simon came in shortly afterwards. Mr. President, where's the Vice President today? That's confidential, Mr. Hall. Understood. Simon's expression remained unchanged as he sat down to face me. I just wanted to provide you with a few updates on the economy. You may have noticed that the government budget is in need of a boost. My ministry is therefore working on a bill that will increase the tax on tobacco products from 10 to 30%. A similar bill is being drafted to introduce a 20% tax on alcohol. In addition to bringing in needed revenue, the new laws would curb excessive drinking and smoking in Sordland. Very good, those are nasty vices anyway. Ordinarily, I'd advise against this kind of thing, but with our budget dipping into the red, any measure that would reverse our deficit is worth considering. Thankfully, tourism to Sordland is on the rise, so we can expect to see a healthy stream of income there. Our investment in cultural preservation paid off, it seems. That's good news, thanks for telling me. I never quite understood why anyone would want to vacation in Sordland when Lispia is right there, but I suppose our country has a certain charm. There was a knock on the door. Gus Manger strolled in and grabbed a seat. Mr. President, Simon. Thanks for joining us, Gus. I believe you wanted to update the President on the latest development in the Gruni region. Gus nodded vigorously. Yes, you both know how revitalizing the region has always been my pet project of sorts. Well, thanks to the efforts of my ministry and the wise allocation of funding on the President's part, it looks like the project has finally found success. I've been keeping an eye on Gruni as well, of course, and it does seem to be experiencing a surge in economic growth. Gus smiled proudly. Wine production, shipping, agriculture, the investments are pouring in. I'd call this turnaround a beacon of success for our administration. This is everything I'd hoped to see at the start of our term and more. It's fantastic news. It shows what can be accomplished when the President, Cabinet, and Assembly are all working together. You've managed to do what Sol and Alfonso couldn't. Very good work, both of you. The door to the White Room opened slowly and David made his way in. Oh, hello, gentlemen. I'm early again, aren't I? Not to worry, Mr. Whiskey. We've just about wrapped things up. While we're both here, we may as well talk about the economic impact of our recent alliance. A wise idea, Mr. Hall. Our new partnership is not without its consequences. As you may recall, almost immediately after we sealed our alliance with Lispia, Vogsland imposed strict tariffs on us in retaliation. The fallout won't impact our economy right away, but I do expect a significant hit before the end of the term. Fortunately, I believe any short-term economic harm imparted by these tariffs will be offset by the alliance's long-term benefits. I wouldn't have agreed to the alliance if I didn't believe that as well. I'm looking at the big picture. I fully expect our partnership with Lispia to pay off. Arkazi has already taken notice and is planning on sending us a generous aid offer. Oh, interesting. Although I've heard that aid will be military in nature, which raises questions about their real motivations. They're clearly gauging our interest in joining ATO, which from a purely financial standpoint would be a great move. We'll leave you to your meeting, gentlemen. My regards to Mr. Vectorn. Have a good afternoon, both of you. Simon and Gus rose from their seats and left the room. After the door closed, David regarded me for a second. His blue eyes seemed to see right through me. How are you, Anton? You look as if you haven't slept in ages. Can I ask you a personal question? Were you ever unfaithful to Catherine? He blinked, slightly taken aback. I've met many a beautiful woman in the course of my travels, but no, even in my younger days, I was never tempted to stray. My deep love for my wife, as well as the need to protect my reputation as a statesman, prevented me from doing so. Why? Have you broken your vows with Monica, Anton? This isn't about me. This is about Peter. He looked at me sadly. Men of our stature are granted a certain power in society. Some know how to wield it responsibly and others do not. I see that Mr. Vectorn wants to do right by his wife in his position. I hope someday he finds the strength to face his demons. But let's have this conversation over tea, not during a cabinet meeting. I'll be very brief. Perhaps we can even carve out some time for you to rest your eyes. Regretfully, tensions are continuing to mount between Sordland and Rumburg. As you might imagine, our decision to grant asylum to their whistleblower, Mr. Hailstone, did not sit well with the kingdom. We must exercise caution. The slightest provocation on either side could cost us our chance at reconciliation. You're right as usual. The last thing we want is a war on our hands. A compromise in the name of the greater good may spare countless lives. I'll leave you to it, Anton. I know you've got a lot on your plate. It's always a pleasure, David. David left the White Room, gently closing the door behind him. Okay, what do we got here? 2 new news articles. FC Enriquez starts a new season with a flourish. Early matches fuel optimism. I'm not going to read that because it's just kind of whatever. You can pause if you wish to read it. Okay, here we go. And this one is a bit more interesting. United Cantana discovers Arcasian base in Polaris. In a startling revelation, a United Cantana satellite has uncovered a massive Arcasian military base in Polaris, strategically positioned within bomber range of United Cantana. This unexpected development has sparked a strong response from United Cantana, with government officials threatening to establish a naval base on the continent in response. The base, equipped with advanced weaponry and communications facilities, represents a significant escalation in Arcasian military presence in the region. Analysts believe that this move could be part of a broader strategy to exert influence and safeguard Arcasian interests. The unveiling of this base and the ensuing reactions significantly amplify the existing tensions between these two superpowers, further complicating diplomatic relations. Observers are now watching closely for potential retaliatory actions and further strategic maneuvers that could reshape the delicate balance of power in the region. Okay, well, where is Polaris? Because I don't know where that is. I'm going to assume it's not something on our map here. The devs did put out, at one point, like a much larger map. Well, yeah, especially since United Cantana is not on this map. Yeah, it's not going to be here. We won't see it here. But like I said, the devs had posted like an actual world map at one point in the past. Most likely you should be able to find it all there. Apparently there's another thing. Oh no, it's somewhere here. Okay, here we go. Okay. Workers' Party of Bludiomer. That's fine. High economic synergy between Gruni and Bergia. A high degree of economic synergy is being observed between the regions of Gruni and Bergia. A series of strategic investments coupled with increased economic interaction have facilitated this alignment. The synergy is not only bolstering the economies of both regions, but also promising long-term growth potential and stability. Wonderful. I think we're going to end this part here. I got 13 minutes left on my clock. That might be enough to do this event, but like I said, I'm just going to end this part here. I will see you all next time. Until then, goodbye and farewell.